Dear brothers and sisters in Christ, thank you for joining our video and for being part of our community of faith and prayer. Your commitment and devotion are a great source of inspiration and help us strengthen our spiritual journey together. Today, we address a profound and significant topic concerning a prophecy made by Pope Benedict XVI, a central figure in our Church, whose life and teachings continue to deeply influence us. Take a few minutes of your time because Benedict XVI's prophecy, pronounced over 40 years ago, is extremely relevant and serves as a warning for each of us. It alerts us to what Benedict XVI considered the Antichrist present in the world at this moment. Let's try to understand together why it is so important for all of us and what we can do. We must not forget that Benedict XVI was a pope and theologian of extraordinary depth and dedication. His pontificate, which began in 2005 and ended with his resignation in 2013, was marked by a strong commitment to the purity of doctrine and the defense of traditional values of the Catholic Church. Ratzinger, even as a young man, was recognized for his extraordinary intelligence and his ability to tackle complex theological issues with a clarity and simplicity that made even the deepest concepts accessible. His sincere and lively faith accompanied him until the last moments of his life. Monsignor Gainswein recounts that it was around 3 a.m. when, in the final moments of his life, Pope Ratzinger, with a faint voice, whispered the words, "Lord, I love you." This simple but powerful act of devotion is an indelible memory of his total dedication to Christ and the Church. We could say much about Benedict XVI's deep faith, but today we want to bring to your attention a prophecy that Benedict XVI made when he was still a young Bavarian theologian. This vision of the future of the Church, pronounced more than 40 years ago, seems more relevant today than ever. Ratzinger envisioned a downsized church with far fewer followers, forced to abandon much of the places of worship built over the centuries. A minority Catholic Church, little influential in political choices, socially irrelevant, humiliated, and forced to start from the beginning. However, through this enormous upheaval, the Church would find itself and be reborn, simplified, and more spiritual. This vision was expressed in a series of radio lectures that the future Pope gave in 1969, a decisive period for his life and for the Church. Those were turbulent years, marked by student protests, the moon landing, and disputes over the Second Vatican Council. Ratzinger, one of the protagonists of the Council, found himself isolated after breaking with progressive theologian friends like Kung, Schillebeeckx, and Rana. However, he consolidated new friendships with theologians like Hans Urs von Balthasar and Henri de Lubac, with whom he founded the magazine Communio. In 5 radio speeches, republished by Ignatius Press in the volume Faith and the Future, Ratzinger outlined his vision of the future of humanity and the Church. Particularly significant is the last lecture, read on Christmas Day at the microphones of the Hessian Rundfunk, which takes on the tones of prophecy. Ratzinger was convinced that the Church was experiencing a period similar to the one following the Enlightenment and the French Revolution. "We are at a huge turning point," he explained, "in the evolution of humanity. A moment compared to which the transition from the Middle Ages to modern times seems almost insignificant." He compared the current era with that of Pope Pius VI, kidnapped by the troops of the French Republic and who died in captivity in 1799. The Church then found itself facing a force that intended to extinguish it forever, saw its properties confiscated, and religious orders dissolved. Ratzinger explained that a similar condition might await today's Church, undermined by the temptation to reduce priests to social workers and its work to mere political presence. From today's crisis, he stated, a Church will emerge that will have lost much. It will become small and will have to start more or less from the beginning. It will no longer be able to inhabit the buildings it built in times of prosperity. With the decrease in its followers, it will also lose much of its social privileges. It will start from small groups, movements, and a minority that will put faith at the center of their experience. It will be a more spiritual church, which will not claim a political mandate, flirting now with the left and now with the right. It will be poor and will become the church of the needy. What Ratzinger outlined was a long process, but when all the labor is past, a great power will emerge from a more spiritual and simplified church. At that point, people will discover they inhabit a world of indescribable loneliness, and having lost sight of God, they will feel the horror of their poverty. Then, and only then, Ratzinger concluded, will they see that small flock of believers as something entirely new. They will discover it as a hope for themselves, the answer they had always secretly sought. Dear brothers and sisters, thank you for following so far the extraordinary words of Benedict XVI. But now something very important concerns all of us. Benedict XVI's words are extremely timely. We are living in hard times for faith. Christian faith in the Western world is increasingly in danger, and fewer people are turning to Christ. Churches are emptying, vocations are decreasing, and the world seems to be moving further and further away from Christian values to the point that Benedict XVI identifies the presence of the Antichrist. A very important element of Ratzinger's prophetic message is his reflection on the dictatorship of humanism, which he considers one of the greatest threats to Christian faith. In numerous speeches and writings, Ratzinger warned against a humanism that excludes God and becomes a sort of secular religion. He defined this phenomenon as a form of antichrist because, while seeking to promote human good, it does so by denying the divine, ultimately leading to despair and nihilism. This dictatorship of humanism seeks to impose a worldview that excludes any transcendent reference and reduces man to a mere biological and social product. This leads to a society where freedom is understood only in material terms, and the human being is deprived of his intrinsic dignity as a creature of God. It is in this context that the Church must become a prophetic voice and call humanity back to its true identity and dignity. But beware, we must not only see the negative side of the prophecy. As Ratzinger explains, this period of crisis can also be a moment of great rebirth. The Church, through suffering and humility, can rediscover its true essence. It is a call to simplicity, spirituality, and deep faith. Each of us has a role in this process of rebirth. We must work to convey the message of Christ with awareness and humility. We are all called to witness our faith, to live according to the principles of the gospel, and not to be discouraged in the face of difficulties. Jesus told us that everything passes in the world, but only His word will remain forever. This is a firm point on which we must anchor our faith, not to fear that it may be defeated by the world. We must be the small flock of believers Ratzinger spoke of, a community that, through its testimony and love for Christ, can bring hope to a world that has lost its way. Let us always remember the words of Benedict XVI and his call for a more spiritual and simplified church. May we all be instruments of peace and love, witnessing our faith with courage and joy. Share in the comments what you think. Your opinion is important to us, so that this becomes more and more a space for reflection and discussion. I ask you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on new videos and become part of the community. May the light of the Lord illuminate the path for each of us.